Pros and cons. The world blames dad when it's really your mom. Yeah. How you guys doing? Here we are. Got my buddy Beard Dude here. It's a beautiful day. It's another interesting day. Every day is an amazing day. All's well all the time.
All is well.
Despite the climate of the world and the environment that we're in, it doesn't determine my peace. I can only speak for myself. How about you?
I don't care if the world is burning down, if the ground's on fire, if I lost all my family. It's always a good day. It doesn't matter, you know. You should be grateful that you're breathing.
Most people would say that you're a bad person because you said that.
I know. Most people are idiots.
Well, most people like to judge other people. They feed off of it. They follow people that they don't like because they like to judge other people. They like to see things that they disagree with so that they can judge it. And I know that's for a fact. Fact!
Yeah. So we got a couple. What's up, everybody? Slowly walking in. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up. Look at that. That's amazing. You just walked right in and slammed the thumbs up.
I appreciate that.
Thank you to all four of you. You're amazing.
We'll let you guys come in for a little bit, and I'll show you a couple of these little remixes I loaded up on YouTube. Let's see if I can find something. These are like some beats and.
I asked him where he going, he tell me where he been. A moment that will be ever remembered. I am an Oreo cookie. White on the inside, black on the outside. Isn't that amazing? At one time in life, I was black on the inside and black on the outside. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. You black. You black. It's amazing. You black. Yeah. Black. You black. Black is so, I don't know. You black.
I love that song. Hey, Joel.
We got
Christine, Matt, living the dream. Matt, living the dream.
what's cracking, Matt?
What's up, Matt? What's up, Christine? Matt from Indiana. Howdy, dude. Yeah, these are all Trevor's. Christine has some nice music. This is all this man right here. He's a genius.
Stuff I make over around the house, you know what I'm saying?
Amazing beats.
I hope I'm not appropriating it.
Yeah, don't be a culture vulture. Sylvia Smith, Gaucho Bear, what up? Everyone's just rolling in. We up in this beat. Yeah, Gaucho, his son watches the show.
I'm doing a First Amendment lawful protected activity.
Maybe we'll see this guy in the chat.
I'm keeping you accountable. Talk to me with respect, because I paid all your roll down. Be respectful. I would get wise, get your mustache back in that car, and go enforce some kind of law. You're dismissed. You work for us. We don't work for you. You're dismissed. You will eventually do your walk of shame, and you will be dismissed. You're dismissed. I dismiss you. You don't dismiss me. You're dismissed. You're gonna tuck tail and get in your car and leave. Swallow it. Are you law enforcement? I'm a taxpaying citizen. I feel sorry for the people you encounter who don't know their rights, sir. This is America, you know. Why are you wasting taxpayers' money? Go do your job. You've been hiding behind that bench. The only criminal right here, right now, is you. You're dismissed. You work for us. We don't work for you. You're dismissed.
Oh my God, this black is woke.
Do you get paid by tax dollars? Oh, do you get paid by tax dollars? We pay you, that means you work for us. Do you get paid by tax dollar. I did.
The man paid, then our family was paid, and our community was paid.
It's okay to be white.
It's for July.
For beta, beta.
Yeah. The wall goes up. Is it? It'll be up in 8 more years.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it, but we won't be about it.
Anyways.
So good evening. We got Hilton. We have Peanut. Aiden, Jen's cousin. Peanut Lynn. We got somebody. Where'd she go? Pistol Packing Mama from Texas, North Texas, in the house.
What's up?
Bridget Bear from Minnesota. Minnesota. Speaking. That's where all this mess kicked off. Minnesota. You guys have that little Canadian influence. White History Month says, yeah, Sylvia Smith, White History Month. If you guys don't know, July is White History Month. So don't forget to thank a white person in July.
And we didn't make it up, actually. A 72-year-old black man named Jesse Lee Peterson, who grew up under Jim Crow laws,
On a plantation.
created White History Month. We
Yeah.
just heard about it.
We're just celebrating it. So yeah. Give credit to a black man who grew up on a plantation in Alabama under Jim Crow, picking cotton for White History Month. Aiden says, tell Trevor I said hello. 71, yeah, I forgot he's old.
What's up, Aiden?
Grace is in the house. Grace with the big old forehead, with the big, beautiful forehead.
Is that the Grace from church?
No, new Grace, white Grace.
So they both have big foreheads. I'm kidding. I don't know.
You can play a movie on that forehead.
I bet she doesn't have a big forehead as you think. You probably look at her and you're like, oh,
That's normal.
that's a big forehead?
But that's what you gotta do. We gotta poke fun. We gotta laugh at everything. If we can't laugh at everything, then you serve the devil.
I remember when I was young, I lived in Orange County around all these tan surfer Orange County people, and I was so white. People always made fun of me, and it used to bother me. And now it's like I don't care at all. I'm proud. This is my skin I'm in.
That's it. You're born in it. Don't get into your whiteness.
At the end of the day, people are gonna only try to say something to hurt your feelings about whatever it is that they think will hurt your feelings, and words should have no power over us. You know.
That's why racism is not real or any ism, because at the root of it, if you boil like division, take it down to its root, what they're trying to do is just be evil. If someone calls you fat, a stupid woman,
It's just anger.
they're just trying to hurt you. So don't call it any of these fancy intellectual names. Just
Right.
call it evil.
So when people are like, we have to end racism, are they saying we have to end evil? Because, I mean, you can't. Good and
Yeah.
evil exists, and you have to overcome it. And
That's the trap. Speaking of that, that's a good point. They want you to believe that you could end racism because they don't want you to realize that you're trying to claim to end evil, and you can't because you're not God, and there will always be evil in this world. You just either have to serve God or you serve the devil.
And the only thing you can do is protect the influences of good. So when there's evil influences around everywhere, that's going to promote evil. Because at the end of the day, as much as we want to think that we have free will, we really don't. Because we're just a product of our influences. Ever since we were a kid, we came into this world, we observed other people doing things, our parents imposed, everything onto us of what it's like to live life and what you should and shouldn't do. And it's programming, whichever way you want to look at it. Did we get a call?
Just turning up the ringer because Grace with the big old forehead wants to call in. Yeah. Welcome Hydro PX says it's a good, only good and evil, bad and good. Stephen Will, what's up, buddy? No hitting that pookie. Don't be hitting that pookie, Stephen. Alright, let's fill this up. I think this be Grace. This her? The big old forehead. Grace with the forehead. You're on the air.
Hi, it's Grace with the 5 head.
I was gonna say the same thing. I thought people that had big quote foreheads were like different numbers, like 5 head or
5 head. When you salute like this?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess head now. Lin Yin Chin said I was, so.
Oh yeah, Lin Yan Chin also told my friend Kelly that she was a mouth breather.
Yeah, he's very
He's so
observant.
observant.
Oh yeah, he sees everything. He called her out for the posture, for the mouth breathing. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Cool. It's
She's in her
awesome.
head about it for a
Fine.
little bit.
I'll
but
take it. I'll take
It's all
it.
good.
That's
But
right.
yeah, I wanted to call in because I obviously agree with everything that you guys, are saying. I started listening to Jesse like maybe a year ago, and started, doing the silent prayer and getting into everything and just realizing that, that was the truth, basically. Realizing for myself, eventually. Because there was times when I was listening to him and I'm like, I don't know, like, I just don't know if that's true because, we're ingrained with things. So, but after, like, doing the silent prayer and learning about myself, I realized that, it's pretty much all, I agree with everything.
Yeah, I agree
So
with that.
it's just, yeah. So it's just,
Isn't it crazy
time
because
right now.
it's not like I heard something and it was new. It was almost like a reminder. Like it was like, oh man, I almost forgot. It was like, wow, I haven't heard that in a long time, or I haven't heard someone say it quite like that. And it like resonated and like basically shined up an old part of me that I forgot about.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's so true when he says being born again. I realize now what that means is like you do have to go back to your the state of mind you were in when you were a child.
Yep. Yeah. The
You
original.
you have to let go of everything you've learned thus far, pretty much, because we have been ingrained and indoctrinated, and you have to. And like he says, God will reveal everything to you from there. So that's kind of like the process that I'm going through right now.
As I know, we've kind of talked. As a woman, do you see how there is a difference in the way that spirit, that false identity works on a woman versus how it can work on a man?
Not that you could compare yourself to a man, because
Right,
you've only
you're
been
not a man. But do you feel that
Right.
is it harder being a woman? And do you see that he plays on you differently?
Yes, absolutely. I 100% believe that women are more vulnerable in that sense, emotionally. And, I grew up with closer to my dad, and then my sister grew up closer to my mom. So there's a drastic difference also in, like, our mind state. She's very liberal and, like, doesn't use logic and operates only on emotions. Whereas, me, I realized that, I have a little bit more logic, and, it's more of because I grew up so close to my dad, and my dad's like a Republican, and he's conservative, and he has great values, Christian. I realized that, I think differently, but I definitely think that it's definitely a challenge for women to overcome.
That's amazing.
In terms of that.
It shows why it's important for men to be men again, because if it all comes back down to the man. If the men don't stand up, if the men don't lead in the right way, if they don't have real strength and know how to speak up and fight back, then the women have nobody to turn to. So they'll turn to all the bad boys and all the fake examples of strength out there.
And you notice
Right.
when you're mad at someone, say you in your old ways or whatever ways, if you decide at one moment someone does something and you don't like them, right, and you cut them off, as soon as you cut them off and you don't see them again, you'll always have that same bitter taste in your mouth about that person. As opposed to if you went to them and you confronted it, then like all of a sudden that changes. Where it's like your brother or your sister, right? You can't, when you're growing up, you can't really just cut them off and never see them again and always think of them as this bad person that you're judging. But you're forced to hang out with them, and then you get over it, and then it's like, and then it becomes stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How like if you confront all of those things like that in your life, and you never have that weight of when you think about somebody, it's just this judgment. Because I remember I used to feel that way, and I would just suffer. Like, all the people I knew that were just, like, against me or whatever like that. I let it all go. It's like, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it really is. I totally agree. And the anger is definitely more, I see now a lot more prevalent in women and, maybe gay men and beta males.
Yeah.
But when you really, like, look into it, it is prevalent in women more so, and so that was hard to overcome, and I'm still overcoming it. It's a process, but
I noticed like men and women are different in a sense of like women will be really nice to your face, but then behind your back, they'll be like, that bitch.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and guys will be like, what's up, bitch, to your face, but then speak the world behind your back.
Mhm. And I've always for some reason, I've always been the girl who had more guy friends, and I would just connect better with guys, not in a
I've met a lot of girls like
weird
that.
way.
For sure.
But that's how I've always been, and I thought it was something wrong with me. I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? Why is it that I just didn't have time for the pettiness of women, and I never really felt like I connected with women like that.
Yeah.
And I guess now that I'm waking up to everything, maybe perhaps that's why that I just always kind of
Did you have
knew
brothers?
in my heart what was
Did you have
right.
brothers and close to your dad?
No, I just had my one sister, and my parents divorced when I was 10, so I ended up coming to live with my dad in New York, and my sister stayed with my mom.
Oh, wow.
But it's just such a drastic difference.
It's huge. It's all the difference in the world, and I think people should remember. Well, women should remember. The way I look at it is, you have inherited you have the Eve inheritance. You took on her problems. Who did the snake go to? Who did he convince first? Yes, the man is guilty because he gave in to her.
Yeah, we have the inheritance of Adam.
Yeah, that beta-ness.
He made Eve his God.
Yeah, so we have to overcome women being our God, and women need to overcome their ego and thinking they know what's what, because they can have 5 master's degrees, know every verse in the Bible, but the truth is not in them, nor is love. It's all like a machinery. The man is the most important part of that engine, and the woman plays a role, but she's not the main piece. But we still need her to fall in line, and the kids fall in line underneath the woman, and then by everyone falling in line, the men also fall and subject themselves to God. We don't. It's not like women are just submitting by themselves. We also have to submit to God, and we answer to a higher authority. So we all submit. But when women refuse to submit to men, we have chaos.
And I realize that a lot of people's idea of what love is wrong. So if they ever heard women can't give love, what? It's totally Triggerville. I see red. Because I always thought love was an emotion and a feeling, and that's that selfish kind of love, where someone makes you feel good, and you're like, I love the way you make me feel. I gave that homeless person money because it made me feel good.
Yeah, and I posted it to Snapchat to show my friends that I'm a good person.
But
absolutely.
You talk.
Did you have any questions for us?
No, I noticed something today specifically that it was so interesting to me. I'm really close friends with someone who he's black. And he's so it's just interesting. He's gay, and he's really, really pro-black. He's a musician friend of mine, so we both went to school together for music, and he's actually my vocal coach as well. So I work with him on music and stuff like that. But he's been really getting involved in these protests, and he's been standing up and speaking at them and giving speeches. And at first, it started off okay, you're standing up, you're doing what's right, I get it and I understand it, more power to you. You should be able to speak, what you want to say. But now it seemed like it's turned into an ego situation to the extreme. Now he's out there singing, and he's out there with people with violins, people doing poems and all this stuff, and I'm watching it on, Instagram. I'm like, they literally are out here just to feed their own ego. This has absolutely nothing.
Exactly. And people are so unaware of themselves that they can't even realize it. It didn't turn into ego. It always was.
Yeah.
It was always that. And a lot of people are using this George Floyd and Black Lives Matter to capitalize and gain something for themselves. It's not, and it's all in the eyes of, oh, look at me, I'm a great person doing something for someone else, but they don't care.
Right. If we got to be a fly on the wall for all these people, we would see that they're not living upright lives. They are not living a Christian life, let alone by any sort of values. They are hypocrites. They have anger. And when you start to separate yourself from the emotions, and you come back to your Father, you come back to God, and you be still, you're going to notice that these beta males and these angry women and angry anybody, they all sound like angry women. They have that same spirit. They get loud, they're willful, they talk over you, they cut you off, and you start looking like, damn, that dude sounds just like a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think social media too is playing a big role in this. As I've been thinking about it, I'm like, why is the world just so crazy right now? But I think that it has to do a lot with social media and, you know, people getting views and likes, and, you know, then you have like the white girls over here like posting their whole story, and, you know, they're virtue signaling basically. And this is all feeding everybody's ego. It's not just white women. It's like, you know, everybody now is like, they're on their social media, they're on their stories, they're saying this and that, and it's just a big ego fest. And it's just crazy when you step back and look at it. But like you said, they're not going to do that. But, you know, it's beyond that.
And we have a duty to be honest, and you don't go out looking for trouble. You don't go trying to just tell them what's what. But if they ever ask you, like we talked about today, we had lunch with one of our brothers from church, and the way we all approach it now that we've kind of been, you know, growing into ourselves, we all have the same kind of idea that if someone opens that door and they ask me to walk through it, well, then I'm coming with the truth. But I'm not going to kick down someone's door to tell them how to live their life. But if they want me to walk through it, well, they better be prepared for my truth, or the truth. And then you'll really see if they love you or not, because then they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about?
And that leads into my question for you guys, because I'm realizing now that I'm getting to the point where I feel like I have to be like, I can't stand by and like, you know, listen to this shit anymore. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I can't stand by and listen to it anymore. You know, and I realize that I am losing friends, and so I wanted to ask you guys, because I'm sure that happened to you as well, and I know, Trevor, that you're in the music industry, so you probably dealt with, you know, losing jobs over this and all that stuff. So how did you guys deal with that?
Trevor.
Well, at first I thought I was, you know, I was like disappointed. I was like, wow, I'm losing friends. But I never thought that what I was saying was wrong. That I never second guessed or questioned myself. And I realized that I didn't lose any friends. It was revealed to me who my real friends were, and that they were never my friends to begin with. And that in the past I was just controlled by people, because you know, I was afraid to really speak what was on my mind, and I wasn't really in tune with my real identity. I was in tune with the identity of my ego and what the world has imposed on me. What I wanted people to like me. All I cared about was, you know, networking and all those things subconsciously playing a role with me. Or I just kind of like be agreeable and laugh and just want people to like me. And then when I started really, you know, I got rid of the anger, right? And that allowed me to be able to speak up and say the truth without having any kind of fear or hatred or anything that would make me question whether I was wrong about what I said. Because at the end of the day, it's like it just comes down to me, you know, being honest and not having that anger, and then I can go no wrong, do no wrong, you know, because I don't have anger or hatred or any malice or any part of that. So I used to second guess myself. Like when somebody criticized me or said something about me, I would be like, consider maybe they were right, you know, like, well, maybe I am like that, maybe it's me. And that caused me to like really suffer inside. Like I'd have conflict all the time because I'd be doubting myself and second guessing. But now that I realized it, now that I realized that it was that I'm just being shown who my real friends are, and that God is drawing a line in the sand of good and evil in the world, and the people that want to hate me now, like for example, I had somebody recently that I've known for like 12 years, who, you know, I'd see him around town. I always be like, oh, you're so dope, and we even done a show together or whatever. But you know, he's never. This is just one person too. He's never promoted, like made any posts about my music or posts about me as a friend or anything positive. And now, you know, he's been posting about me being a horrible person and just like all these horrible things. And it's just find it interesting how people that are angry, it's like he's now promoting me after all these years, but in a negative light. And it's so easy for people to promote you in a negative light than it is to, you know, show love that's genuine. It was all just to my face, and I think a lot of these people are like that, where they're agreeable, they're, you know, whatever to your face, and they're just fake, but they're not really telling you how they feel about you. And you know, people end up, they're probably hating. You know, if you have hate or anger, you've got love for nobody. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
What have you seen with in your life since, you know, kind of waking up and seeing yourself? Have you already been put in positions where you had to share your opinion honestly?
You know, I never felt comfortable, to be honest with you, sharing my personal opinions about stuff, because have always thought this way, and everyone that, you know, I've come in contact with here in New York City, being in the music industry, being, you know, in like the life that I've had or whatever, I just never felt comfortable speaking out. But like I said, now it's gotten to the point where God will not allow me to sit back and accept this anymore. You know, as things are getting more turbulent in the country and everything like that, I just feel like, okay, like you said, the line is drawn in the sand now. My eyes are open. Like, I can't close them again, you know?
Yeah. Are you white?
Yeah, I'm white.
She white? No. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm white, but I grew up, you know, in New York pretty much. So I grew up in Inwood, which is like it's near the Bronx. It's like a Dominican neighborhood. And, you know, I kind of grew up in like, you know, not like suburban neighborhoods, like, you know, inner city stuff. So
yeah. So you make music?
Yeah. So I'm an opera singer.
Oh wow.
I went to school for opera, but
yeah. So if
I'm
you're an opera singer, then you're not going to get hit with the whole culture appropriation thing.
Yeah, that's white music.
Well, right, but you know what's so crazy is that they have a whole hashtag now that opera is racist, and you know that it's all racist. And I'm like, opera is the one art form that they literally don't care what your skin color is as long as you sing well. And it's always been like that. So,
right. And yeah, it's crazy because like some other people tweeted me too. It's like some of the people that would say, "Oh, you're so amazing, you're so dope," or whatever. Now that they're publicly hating me, they're like, "Oh, you're just a mediocre singer who's trying to ride the
right.
coattails of a black person." And I find it funny, the whole culture appropriation thing, because it's, for one, I don't think in that sense. Like, I've always just gravitated towards certain kind of music I like because I wanted to celebrate it, right? And I appreciated it, but I never thought of it as anybody's genre of music to have as their own. Like if I was thinking that way, then it's like, well, a white person invented a piano, a white person invented, you know, sound recording and microphones. So who's really culture appropriating then? Because I mean, if that's what you're using, then aren't you writing the backs of white people?
Yeah,
you know?
go invent your own instrument.
It's the same kind of mentality.
Yeah, it's crazy. I saw a meme that was like, it was an empty bookshelf, and it said, or empty like record shelf, and it's like, this is all the music that is written by blacks and inspired by blacks. It's like, it's not, you know what I mean? It goes way deeper than just being skin color. You know,
Right,
I mean,
no, for sure. Because
really
I see it like nobody invents anything or creates anything. God created all things, and all we can do is discover it. And music is one of those things that everything is influenced by something else. Someone hears something and takes that and shapes it and does something else. And it just keeps going around, and it just evolves, and we all get to enjoy it.
Yeah, we don't create.
It's not ours to claim and be like, keep score. You know, it comes from insecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with real musicians, this has never really been an issue with musicians. Like, we look at each other like we're family. Like, you know, when I was at Manhattan School of Music, there's this large jazz you know, program there, and there was never an issue with like cultural appropriation or anything like that. Like, they just would jam together. You know, it was never ever a problem. They gave respect where respect was due. But I think a lot of this cultural appropriation comes from people who have no idea what's actually going on with music, as far as inspiration and things like that.
No, I do notice that for the most part, there are people that don't even make music. Just because they're black, they're going to say, you're stealing from my culture. But I have seen a lot of, like, I know white friends, or I don't know if they're my friend. I'm their friend, but they probably don't think they're my friend anymore. But I see a lot of posts about, you know, they're kind of like pandering, where they want to kiss ass to black people because they want to either get gigs, they want to get more jobs, they want to be accepted. They're afraid to really, you know, I realize that a lot of the white people are afraid to embrace their own culture or their own whiteness, and that's why they have, it's an identity issue with most people in the world in some kind of way. And with these musicians, you know, of course black people are like some of the most talented musicians and singers, and I'm talented because, for one, I had a gift, you know, and I acknowledged that gift, and my parents allowed me to make music, and I did it. But it came from that emotion, because I suffered in my family and like the dysfunction and stuff, and so my escape was to create music, and so I kept doing that, and then now I have like something that I can do with my life with it. But I know that, I think about the black community, and some people would say, oh, you can't speak on that because you're not black. But I know what it's like to be emotional. And in the black community, 78% are born out of wedlock and they're raised by their mothers. And like, we go back to the women thing. Mothers are very emotional and strong-willed, and they impose that emotion. And so, I think that contributes to a lot of the artistic talent too. It's like there's beauty in the darkness or whatever. I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but
yeah, I get what you mean. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on in the music industry right now, and I just am seeing everyone online saying that every single music institution at this point is racist. So there's really no, for them there's no winning in any scenario, I guess. So
Now that you are you're waking up and you're growing into your identity, and like you said, you're returning to what you were born as, before the world and your parents and everybody imposed on you and basically buried your real identity. Do you trust people with anger or emotions?
I don't trust people with anger. I'm still not at the point, because I realize now what anger is. I'm still, to be honest with you, not at the point where I'm like, because I'm such an emotional person as an artist and as a singer, and an opera singer, so it's very emotional. So for me, because I guess because I grew up thinking that was art.
Exactly, I was the same exact way.
Right.
I thought
so
I
it's
used
hard
it.
for me.
Sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, I thought I just resonate with that because I used to use it, think that emotional was good and it was like a superpower because it's why I was an artist, and artists are supposed to be emotional. And now when I make music, it's so different because I'm more objective. I'm not trying to plan what I'm going to make. I just start working and doing something, and I can just see it unfolding before me. And I'm just basically choosing yes or no, good or bad. And if I do something I like, I keep it. And then I just continue going. And then creation creates itself, and it wasn't even me doing it.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I feel the same exact way, especially when singing and making music. If I don't think about it and I don't get too emotional, I create the best art, because it comes right from the soul, right from God,
Yeah.
So
I see it I see
yeah.
it like parents, like you have a kid, you raise it, and when it's 18, it should get out of the house, and then now it's its own person, and they fall on their face and do their own thing. It's like with creation, right? Because creating a human being is the greatest form of creation. So if I create a song or something like that, once I'm done with it and I put it out, it's no longer mine, it's the world's. It's out, it's on its own, it's doing its thing, and I don't have any expectations about what it's supposed to do, how people are supposed to receive it. Because when I would perform out and play a song, the more that song meant to me, the more disappointed I'd be if I didn't get the response I expected to get.
Yeah.
But now it's like if I'm just playing and I'm singing or whatever, and there's something about not caring that allows people to be even more attracted to listening to it. Because
right.
I think people can sense energy, and if you know that if it means so much to you, for some reason people don't want, they don't. It doesn't mean anything to them. It's almost like you're holding on to it so hard that they can't even appreciate it or something.
Right. That's absolutely true, and that's why when, especially with opera singers, we have the mind state of it's not about you, it's about the composer, what he wrote, and about living in the composer's world at that time. And so I think it's separating my actual emotions from the text and from the music really helps me as well. And like you said, I don't have expectations as to, what are they going to say? Are they going to like me and all that? So really, that has been another reason why I've just been totally amazed by, Jesse and everything that he, talked about. Because I'm like, wow, this has helped me in my artistic life so much as well to adapt this mentality. And so that's when I realized, I was like, wow, this is more than just a church thing. Well, I mean, you know what I mean? It's it's literally life. It applies to every aspect of life.
Yeah.
This is a spiritual battle, and it's never been more clear than this last year that what you need to get and grow into, and that's why you be patient, you work on being still, and you identify and observe yourself, because if you're getting stirred up emotionally, like you said, as an artist, it's easy to get caught up with emotion. We tend to think that that's where creation comes from, but it doesn't. Creation comes from being in that zone, just like an athlete describes when he's hitting that jump shot, the game-winning point. He's in a zone. There's no feeling, no thinking. That's God.
It's fully present in the moment, and God is only in the present. You know, like when we're in our imaginations, that's not the present moment. It's not real, and it's away from God. And I realize that when I'm playing music, I have that power when I play something, and someone stops what they're doing and they look. I brought them to God because they're in that present moment. You know, it brought them right to reality. And most people, I feel like these days, are living in their imaginations or their heads or their emotions, and they're not really fully present, you know?
That's absolutely true. That's amazing that you said that, because that's definitely, you know, how I feel.
And when he says spiritual battle, when I heard that before, I didn't think of it the same way as I do now, and I realized that the spiritual battle is not between me and someone else. It's a war going on within myself, which is those feelings and all these things, you know, and being able to separate myself from it and just allow that battle to go on and relax in it. And that way, the more in tune I get with that spiritual battle within myself, the more I can, grow in my discernment to know, like, I'm not feeding into the evil or anger or negative energy that's in there. And if I never feed it, all of a sudden it'll die. Like if you stop feeding an animal, it'll die.
Yeah, evil works like a dimmer switch, and Trevor had this example, but I love it because it's what people use to convince themselves that, you know, oh, my friend who is not out there rioting and looting, they're not the same way. They don't have the same spirit, but they do co-sign it. You know, evil may seem like it's going to be outright obvious, ugly, violent, you know, big bad boogeyman, but that same spirit can exist in a person that seems like they're well-to-do, they're worldly and successful, they have money, but they are not serving God. They may seem nice and they may talk politely, but you got to be able to discern that, because that's even probably more dangerous to not see that snake in the grass, because it's easy to see the guy charging at you with a bat.
Exactly.
But it's not hard to see that snake in the grass who's in your house or in your circle of friends who will stab you in the back because they have no love.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I've noticed it's like you said, a lot of times it's through the church too. I've seen it's like the pastors, and they have no idea what they're like even saying, and it's just so evil to see it all unfold before me. Like I go to a church here, and the pastor was, and I'm probably not going to go back, but the pastor was at one of the rallies, and he was, you know, speaking and telling them to continue to protest and continue to do all this, and I'm like, that's evil.
Yeah.
That's pure evil, but it's coming from a pastor. It's coming from this man that it just seems like he's genuine, but people aren't noticing it, so it's scary.
I agree, and a lot of people too are turned off by a lot of the mainstream church, including myself, especially growing up. There just seemed to be this contrived fakeness about it, and when I found, you know, like Roy Masters, Jesse, and David Prince, right?
Derek Prince.
Derek Prince. There's something that's so true about it that I just wanted to keep feeding myself that, and that's the difference, you know. It's like it's something. It's not a contrived like. There's a lot of ego in church where people want to be better than other people. They live a crappy life, and then they go on Sundays. They're like, well, I'm done. You know, like I'm good for the next week. I'm recharged.
Yeah. Do you memorize the Bible, or do you read the Bible a lot, Grace?
No, actually, I don't. I've obviously sat down and tried to. I want to know the stories. Like I want to learn the stories, and because obviously I think it's important. But I'm not like a Bible thumper at all.
Good.
I grew up in church, but my parents aren't like super like into God or into religion, so. You know, I know about it. I don't memorize it or anything like that. I don't really like that at this point, just because I've kind of always been someone who's been lives, like doesn't make plans. So like I've always been kind of what's the word?
Go with the flow.
Improviser.
I've always, yeah, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I've never been like a list maker anyway, but I know what you mean. Like I do have like a vision of my future and what I want.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the list. It may not be a image of a list, but that women, all women, have this that spirit that thinks that you know what you want and you know what you're gonna get.
It's willfulness, is what it is. That it's and the world imposes that on us. Like, you know, especially if you're an artist, or you know, it's like, what's your dream? What's your purpose? What's you know, like,
what's on your vision board?
Exactly, and it creates these expectations. Like, I know a lot of girls will be like, when they're young, they'll be like, oh, when I'm 21, I'm gonna find my husband, and when I'm 28, I'm gonna have kids, and then they plan it out like that. I've dated girls that almost all of them said that.
Right. Yeah, and you know, I'm out here in New York City, so I'm looking around me like,
dang, how is New York? Is it pretty crazy out there?
It is crazy out here. It's been really wild. I've been kind of like, I'm in Queens, so I'm like a little farther away from the city. So I haven't really been into Manhattan for like months since the quarantine started. So I've been kind of avoiding everything. But it's been crazy out here, definitely with the protests and the rioting, all that stuff.
That's cool. I've been to New York a couple times.
Yeah, it's hard living out here, and I'm sure you guys are in LA, so, you know, I'm sure it's very similar when it comes to, like, the liberals, and, like, I just feel very isolated in my beliefs.
I always, growing up, I always heard, like, oh, New Yorkers are assholes and whatever, you know, and when I went out, the times I went out there, I actually love the people in New York compared to LA, because New York, I feel like they, from my experience, they told you like it was, and it was like, if they don't want you to do something, they say don't do that. You know, in LA, it's like people are smiling in your face. They don't really have the courage to say what they just want to say, but then they'll talk behind your back. But I don't know. For me, the people in New York seem to be cooler than, you know, I don't know. Maybe people don't like that directness, but they seem more direct.
Well, I appreciate the native New Yorkers here. Like, they are awesome people. Most of them are like, you know, they're totally against all of this shit. They're like, sorry. Oh my God.
She did grow up in the hood.
I'm a millennial. But, no, so, you know, they're against all of this rioting and stuff, and they just want to keep New York as it is. They're like big fans of Giuliani, and most of them are Trump supporters. They probably are scared to say it, but I think most of them are. So, like, the native New Yorkers are cool. It's the people who move in here, like,
Same
you know,
here.
all of the, like, liberals and stuff that move in.
I appreciate that New York, the police officers made that video, you know, the department, to stand up against everything.
Yeah, me too. And I actually went to one of the protests when they first started because I wanted to see what was going on. And, you know, like I said, my friend, he was giving his speech, so like, let me go. And I realized that the police officers, they're just like, they're completely just over it. They're, you know, they're strong in New York though. You know, like they did not kneel. They did not do any of that stuff. They just stood there and looked straight like they were like military. I loved it.
Yeah. Right now, there's a big push to demoralize, defund, and destroy what little, I don't want to say pride, but what little good and spirit these cops are trying to serve and do right by society. And they're trying to make them want to quit, like break their spirits. Like, there's no money here for you. We don't appreciate you. We don't need you. And that's just, once they do that, well, here comes our new Terminator / communism future, you know, the high-tech communism.
Yeah, absolutely. My sister today and I were like, had like an hour-long debate about police brutality and all this stuff. And she's like, I just want them to just fire all the police and just have a new police force. I was like, what? How's that work?
She's so angry.
So, yeah, she's got so much anger. It's just sad to see. And, you know, I know that she's a logical girl. She's a smart, very smart girl. You know, and I know that this is just all, like, she's being brainwashed, basically. And it's just hard to watch from the outside in. But yeah, we had a long conversation.
Don't lie to her, because calling them smart because you're not halfway crook, you're not halfway smart, you're not halfway good or halfway evil. You're the whole hog. It's whatever spirit you serve, you are that. No matter how it like you said, it's like the snakes in the grass. They could look like they're doing things right. They know how to order at a restaurant. They know how to say please and thank you. But they serve that spirit. It will eventually come out. So the best way you can do it, you don't gotta say, hey, you're a piece of doggy doodle, but you just say it like it is. You say you're wrong. You're angry. You're operating from hate, and you're not logical. Because if you were logical, you would not have these ridiculous ideas about getting rid of the police. And that way we don't mince words and we don't sugarcoat it, because that's a dangerous thing. Is that we tend to sugarcoat because we're scared of hurting feelings.
I noticed since I've been waking up and growing in my life, I notice things more now that I would have let slide in relationships or whatever. Like, I never knew how to create boundaries or correct myself or other people, just to allow, you teach other people how to treat you. And I notice the more and more I wake up, the more I notice the details of things, of that like dimmer switch and levels of what's serving good and what's serving evil. And I'm not like running around like anyone's dad or mom or whatever. But I just saying, I know for myself, and I know it, and even in like dating or relationships, I can nip it in the bud before it grows into something wrong, and help lead that way, I guess.
Right, and I agree with you that words definitely should not be minced, because it does get into dangerous territory. So yeah, that's interesting. I definitely agree with you in that way. I guess I just wanted to like have hope for her. To be able to overcome this, just because she's my family and
right. Yeah, the best way, just be honest. Like, don't lie to her.
Yeah.
Don't use words that don't apply, because you are one or the other. There's no halfway. She's either logical or she's emotional.
And are you afraid that your sister would cut you off and not want to have you in her life?
No, I was just gonna say that I've been. The one good thing is that she's not like most liberals, where like you say one thing and they like run off and call you a racist and
right.
completely just dismiss you. She actually does listen to like what I have to say, and she doesn't agree with it, but she at least will listen to it, and she knows that I make good points, and so at least she listens.
Do you think, Grace? Do you think that women should be cops and soldiers on the front line?
Absolutely not.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for being honest.
Absolutely not.
Do you think women should be president? Do you think we should have a female president? Do you think that's good for a country?
No, I don't think women should run government I don't think women should be running anything, to be honest.
That's right. We need more sandwiches. More sandwiches.
Yeah. No, look. I truly believe that that's not a woman's place, and I think that the reason, like Jesse says, that the world is going to hell in a handbasket is because there's too many women in the seat of government and in the driver's seat,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
it's just not even a good look. Even before.
I'm open to learning if you can tell me one, but what's a woman that is in power that is not abusing it in some sort of way of like an ego, like I feel like women don't handle powerful positions in a still, calm way. Do you know any that you can name that is a good example?
A good example of someone who can?
Yeah, like a woman that's in power that is isn't abusing her power from an ego sense, like
I would probably say. I honestly cannot think of one at the moment. I was gonna say maybe like someone like Candace Owens.
She's close.
But at the same time,
is she in
really
a powerful position? Like, I mean, what power role is she in? Isn't she just in?
Yeah, that's the thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's not like she's in government or anything like that. She's more so just like a public figure. But yeah, I can't really think of any women at this time. But
I like Candace Owens. I appreciate a lot of stuff she says, but I still notice that spirit of ego and passion and she seems like the type like I wouldn't want her on my bad side.
It's just like in general, it's the order of God. Like it's not their role to lead men. So just by that very fact, it's out of order. The only people who should be leading men and a nation, because a nation is made up of men and women, has to be a man. And like T Warrior says, he says, A woman president? Let me see. Hell no! To the no, no, no!
No, seriously, and I don't think women should be preachers. I don't think, I just think that there are certain roles in life. Like you said, it is the order of God, and certain things just are not right. And I don't think that it makes, like, I think other countries, when they, like, I don't know how good of a look it is to have, like, women in the military to other countries, because other countries don't do that. They're like, what?
And it's not like, I understand how it could occur to somebody, especially who's in that fallen state, that it's it's a knock on women, it's misogynistic. It's like, I see it now so clear that it's like a choir, like you have the conductor and you have the choir, and they're both equal, right? You treat everybody with respect, but there's just different roles that are being played. And because men, it's in their nature to be more logical, right? And even the Bible says that it's that order of God, God in Christ, Christ in man, woman, children, and that love comes from above and comes down through the man. Man can give love to the woman. She can give that love from the man to the children. That it's a woman's nature to be more emotional and nurturing. And usually when women want to become and compete with men, it's from a competitive place because they want to compete with men as opposed to in their nature,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even if you think of it in like musical terms, it's like it's just not harmonic.
Right.
It's like you're operating on different frequencies that don't go well together, and it creates like a dissonance. Right.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
It's too
dissonant.
dissonant.
Yeah, it's not. It's like he said. It's not a knock. I got an aunt who was a CHP officer, and I know she would be the first to disagree with me, and I love her to pieces. But it's not that women can't. If, like, say for example, I have a wife in a farm, and I'm out hunting or working, and someone tries to break into the house. She will have to defend the kids at that point, and I would want her to be trained. And God willing, if I had a wife, she would know how to use a gun because I would show her. But it doesn't mean that I would make her in charge of that. It just means that she's capable of it if she has to rise to the occasion. But it's the man's duty. It's God put us here to lead for a reason. So we should be leading and being in front and taking the hits first.
Yeah, and women know that also too. Like I think almost all women, if they're normal, like know that that's how it should be, and that's what we really want. It's deep down inside, and that's why, like Jesse says all the time, he's like, women want alpha males. Like, that's so true. Women want men that can protect them. It's just during a point blank, the end of the, that's just the way it is. So
they spent their whole life with ego.
And I think women get way more, like, satisfaction from being a mother and, like, having a family and, like, being in harmony with her family. Like, the satisfaction that comes from that is way more than any, career or anything like that. And even people with careers will tell you that.
Yeah, it's priceless. You can't. That's it. We just had to talk today with the brother that we went to lunch with, and he says it like that. His wife has made the comments, when she's going and getting ready for work, and in those brief moments of honesty, she's like, "I don't want to go to work. I just want to stay home and clean." And they don't have a kid, but it's in her. She just knows, and she's like, "I don't feel right doing this. I feel chaotic. There's no peace in my heart." And I just know that I want to be home, taking care of the home and making the meals and keeping it clean.
If there's something a woman can do better than man, it's make a house a home.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a woman's touch,
Yeah,
anytime a woman is one that creates, because the man should be the head of his wife, where she looks to him and she wants to look to him for that guidance and for that real love, but the woman is the head of the home, in the sense of making it a home and not a house, But I just think that there's nothing like a woman's touch with those kind of nurturing things.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely, and that goes back to the role, the order of life. That all ties back into that. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody has, their place, and I agree that is that's the way it should be.
Yeah. The hardest thing for a woman, besides apologizing, is to submit to a man, because their ego tells them that means that they're giving up this ridiculous list and these visions and these wants and
they're giving up their life.
Yeah, and that's partly it. Like, it's like what Jesse touches on. Like, you have to admit and realize that you don't know what the hell you want. You don't know who's the best for you, because the right man for you is probably not going to make you feel good all the time, because he's not in the business of making you feel good.
Because the truth doesn't make
Yeah.
you feel good all the time.
He's in the business of telling you when you're wrong and leading you out of that hell that you've been living in for most of your life.
And it's like, if you think about it, like, does it empower these women who have, like, these beta male husbands? Like, they know that does not empower them to, like, look over to their husband and he's, like, some beta male with, like, a man bun. Like, come on. I just think it's just a normal, it all comes down to, like, the nature of it all, you know?
It is.
Yeah. I think a lot of these relationships now are like mother-son relationships.
Right. That's true.
Because they teach that a man, what makes a man is a man who is in tune with his emotions and shares his weaknesses and is not afraid. But in my experience, I know that anytime I've shared a weakness with a girlfriend or my mom or it always ends up coming back to bite me, and because they want to find solutions for those weaknesses. And I find it so much better, more harmonious, to be the solution maker.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll help with your problems, but God will help me with my problems.
And they also blackmail you and extort you with every little problem that you
If
tell
something
them.
goes wrong, like you know, with like an ex-girlfriend, something goes wrong,
Oh yeah.
where you know, it would definitely happen to me. Then all those moments
Come
of
right back.
weaknesses are going to be spread around town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So it makes you not trust them, and
Exactly,
like,
right.
makes you. It's
And
so
then a girl's going to be
unfortunate
like, I
most
would
women are
never
like
do
that.
that. That's crazy. I would never do that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's exactly what she said.
Yeah, girls always want to put the best foot forward, and it's that ego trying to entice you because they can't help it, but that spirit is using them to get you to submit to them. And a man just needs to realize that I'm not playing that damn game. I don't care if your feelings are hurt, because that is not an indicator of whether or not I'm telling the truth, because your ego is gonna get hurt. The truth doesn't have feelings. It's just the truth.
It is.
And if you love her, you gotta be okay with her walking out. Like, I can care less if I'm married and she gets mad about something and says I'm leaving. I'll say, well, you know, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Like, if I'm right, I'm right, and I don't care. I'm willing to lose everything because I gotta serve God first. I don't serve my wife. I serve God.
Right, absolutely. And I understand how it is to, like, I did identify with that, you know, controlling nature at night, because I realized, you know, like, I would have to be, like, you know, not fully in control, but emotionally I would have to have the upper hand in relationships and stuff like that. And I would feel, if I didn't have the upper hand, I would feel like I didn't know what was going on, and I just wasn't in control. So it was like, it felt unnatural, but now I realize that, you know, that's an evil spirit.
And that's awesome that you can.
I know how that is.
That's awesome you can observe and see that, because, you know, I'm not a woman, of course, but I know what I had definitely had that spirit inside of me for a long time, and it's definitely good that you can observe it and see it, because the more will you think, if you can see it, that your will can change it, but it doesn't. Just observing it changes it, and God's will is what's done. And it's just such a blessing that you can see that about yourself, just like it is to be able to see anything. And I've noticed that the weaknesses I've had in my life that I wanted to overcome, just the simple fact of me observing and being able to see it and acknowledge it allows things to change, and God does all that work.
Right, I think once you're aware, that's like the spark of the light, you know?
Exactly.
Once you have that awareness, you already know that it's wrong, so you can't really turn away from it. And that exactly ties back into what I'm going through now. It's like, okay, now I know for a fact that this is wrong, so I can't close my eyes to it. And, you know, it's just about maneuvering from that point.
Yeah, and you don't have to judge yourself and feel bad about it. All it is seeing it and then correcting it. And if you just do that, it'll fall away and you'll just keep growing, you know?
Right, absolutely. But thank you guys so much. It's been amazing talking with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'd love to hear some of your opera stuff if you can.
Yeah, DM some stuff over to Trevor.
If you have
Oh
anything
yeah, for sure. I'll
recorded.
send you some stuff. I have a YouTube channel, Grace K. But I'll send you some stuff over.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, guys in the chat, if you want to hear some amazing opera singing from the biggest, beautiful forehead
We don't
this side of
know. We
heaven.
don't know if it's amazing. No.
Well, if it's as amazing as that forehead.
Girl.
Big forehead girl.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks,
you.
Grace.
All right, so have a good night.
God bless. Good night.
Girl, bye.
Amazing.
Sweet.
That was Grace K. Grace with a K.
Okay.
Not 3 Ks, but 1 K. She is white though, so it could be 3 Ks.
You know what? It's crazy is that the feminized men who have the spirit of a man and a woman, and they haven't been growing into their manhood. They could hear that conversation, and that spirit of emotional, sensitive, female energy will hear that conversation and be offended. You know what I'm saying?
Catherine Payne says, I was a flute playing soldier, but y'all don't think women HS. Women, I'm not sure what that means. But she said she was a cop and a soldier. Hey, I mean, someone's got to play the flute, but it's just not the woman's place to do a man's battle, to fight for men. Men protect the women and the children. Men are the warriors. They're the ones who go out and ride the horses and conquer the demons.
But I do find it interesting. Like, there's some women I feel like it's just like they were born to be something different. Like there are women out there that can do a man's job better than a man. There's an exception to the rule. Like just like there's people out there who were born with 11 to 12 fingers.
Right.
It's not normal.
God can will it because maybe in your family you were the only one who could have rose above it. So like there's some not butch women, but they're just
but there's some women out there that are built.
Yeah.
Very.
You seen some of those CrossFit chicks?
They must. Yeah. It's like.
Man.
Because it's like I'm not saying I know everything, but I know that there's it's just like it's like music. You learn the order, you learn the boundaries, and then you can play in those boundaries. And once you know those boundaries, there is those moments when you can break those rules. Because to me, I realize, especially with music, if you make a mistake, it's how you recover that is the most important thing ever. It's like that mistake turns into magic and into a moment that like you could never plan. And I think that that's the same way in all aspects of life.
I still say that women should be making sandwiches and not war, and that's just my word. I'm gonna stand by it. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree for the most part that it's the order and the nature. But I do know, and who knows why there are women that are just completely different.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. That was a great call. And like Trevor said, it's never a dig at women. Beta males are just like women. But really, truly, that's just a way for us to identify that spirit. But that spirit has always and will always come from one place, and that's to Satan himself. So it's really Satan's spirit. But we have to identify it as the woman because that's the vessel it prefers to work through, and it's currently destroying the world through that vessel. But it's Satan's spirit.
And what's Satan? Satan is the lie, right? Satan is not real. He's real, but he's what's not real. And women are, in their nature, for the most part, are more emotional, and they are in their imagination. They create stories in their heads, and they a lot of times think that it's their intuition and that they're just, I just know, when it hasn't been revealed for them to know for sure. So that's what I hear when I think of the whole Satan thing. Because I'm not thinking of a man with a pitchfork and then God is the guy in the sky. It's like there's forces at work.
Matt says it here. Women don't belong in uniform or on the battlefield. They are liabilities and get men killed. I agree, man. Like, if I was president, I would fire all female soldiers and cops. I'm sorry. I would just say, you know what? There's too much talking on here right now. I'm not hearing enough sandwiches being made. So, it's just not the right way. Get more men to lead. I mean, we're suffering from a shortage of good, strong men. I mean, no man is good, but we need strong men who are not going to be scared about labels that the world's going to throw at you and weaken you.
And there's such a poor example of what a man is these days that I don't think people even really know anymore. It's almost forgotten that because a lot of people are going to think that a man is someone who is angry. Like the whole thing about toxic masculinity and trying to paint what a man is and masculinity is as like angry, especially if you're raised by a single mother and she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to be a man. It's like that passion, and you think that that's what it is, but it's not. We got a call?
Christine! What's up, Christine Stewart? You're on the air.
Hi.
How are
Thanks
you?
for taking my call.
What's cracking?
Thank you for
Is
calling.
this our Christine?
This is our Christine.
What's up, Christine?
Well, I don't know,
Our
not from
Christine.
church.
Oh. Well, never mind.
Yeah, no, we have a Christine at church, but you're in
Hi,
Arizona?
Christina.
Yeah.
right? Christina.
She has a similar sounding voice though. Hi. Maybe that's how she's.
Hi.
Sorry, I've spoken to her a few times. She's awesome.
She's pretty cool.
How are you?
And she was on Jesse the other night, on the other day, I mean.
I heard she was on
I'm
there.
great.
She was on his show.
Yeah, she was on the radio show.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think was
Yeah.
it like a video call?
No, not a video call. He called her on to,
On
He-
cam into the studio.
She was on the show.
Oh wow, he brought her into the studio. Amazing.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
know
amazing.
she works there too, so that's good.
How did it turn out?
yeah. She's awesome. She has a really great personality.
Yeah, she always carries herself very well and explains things nicely.
And when I talked to her on the phone, when I called on, and then I actually saw her in real life, it was really beautiful. I was like, wow, there's a name to the face, you know?
Yeah, and she's come a long way. Like I remember when I first met her, she was completely different. She's like lost a bunch of weight. She used to be so much more of a rebel, you know, like, but it seems like she's just like.
She talked a little bit about that on the show, yeah.
Oh, she did?
Nice.
Yeah, they went into a little bit of detail. It was awesome.
How have you been?
I wish I could remember exactly the date, but I was at work, and it was during my break when I was able to listen in.
I think it was just a few days ago because I think Victoria was talking about it about 2 or 3 streams ago. So I think sometime this last week.
Yeah, it was recently. So, my sister Catherine, she was in the army.
So my sister.
Oh, Catherine from the chat, from our chat right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you spirit sisters or are you guys
Yeah.
really sisters?
We're twins.
Get out of here.
We're seriously twins.
Oh wow, that's crazy. It's honor.
Yeah.
So, how did you pursue law enforcement, or did you play the flute?
No. I played clarinet, and I was terrible.
This one time at band camp?
She was a natural when she played her flute in band our first year, 6th grade. She picked up the flute, and the band director, the first week, we learned how to take care of our instruments. And within the first few days, he had us play the first note, which is B flat, the first note you ever learn. And she already had vibrato.
Nice. If you
And he was going down the-
vibrato is?
Is that how you can make your voice like shake?
Exactly. It's a
Me. Like an opera singer.
Right, but when it's done with a flute, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's
She
tricky, I
was
guess. I don't play
beautiful.
flute, but
Your
I can
sister
imagine.
says that you're lying, that you are amazing.
So she was so good and such a natural that whenever I picked up my clarinet and put it together, I was like, I sounded so bad that I was embarrassed.
Yeah, I was pretty bad. I only learned how to play the recorder because they make everybody play the recorder, at least at my school.
I remember me and my sister played piano too, and I played piano, and we used to fight. I'd be like, I played it first. This is my thing. And looking back, it's like, man, my sister really did have piano talent, you know, and musical. She can sing.
She can
too.
sing. He
But
showed
it's
me a
like,
video.
but
She
we
can
were always.
wail.
It was always a competition, and it was like it just wasn't. Whatever. It is what it is.
Girls are like that. I have 4 daughters, and they're all competitive in that way. Wait, I'm the one that drew first.
Exactly.
And they draw really well, but they compete.
That's that
And it's like,
ego.
I'm better than you.
Yeah, that's that ego.
Yeah.
But it's okay because, you know, that's what we're all here for, is we just gotta fall in line, play our roles, and that ego will never get the best of us.
Sometimes competition is good though if it's healthy because it makes you strive to be better.
Absolutely.
Especially with like men, I feel like, you know.
Men need it. Men need a rough house. They need to play, compete, because you know, you gotta know what it's like to lose and what it's like to win, so you can be a winner.
Kathy sat behind me in English class, and she was very competitive in each one of our classes. Sometimes I did better on tests than her, and the teacher would announce in the class, okay, wait, our senior year, we were in different classes, but I scored highest yeah, my ego's coming out now. I scored the highest in the whole senior class in his particular class, and he announced it to Kathy's class, and she was like upset about it. And I was like, but he didn't announce it. He did not announce it to my class. He announced it to her class, with her sitting in the classroom.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, she was upset about it.
I mean, that, yeah. I was
Maybe
the same
not upset.
thing.
She was proud. She was proud, though. She was proud, but at the same time, she wanted to do better than me. Right?
Since you ladies are twins, is it true what the stereotypes are for twins, that you guys have very similar taste in things and similar attitudes, and that maybe you even like you can feel her across great distances, like if she's in a panic or happy, that you feel happy or panicked?
You know what? It's not intense, like what you're saying, like instantaneous kind of thing. There have been times when I've called her and she has said, I really needed you to call me. And I was like, yeah, I felt that I needed to call you, kind of thing.
Amazing.
It's not, you know, it's not like...
It's not psychic, but there's a
it's
strong
silent.
connection.
It's silent. It's kind of silent. It's like, oh, I need to call my sis, right? So we don't talk on the phone every single day, but I do know twins that do. And, oh, what? You don't talk every single day? No, we go for weeks without talking sometimes. But when I get that feeling where, oh, I need to call her. I need to call her. And I call her, and sometimes it's like, wow, I really needed you to call me, right?
Wow, that's cool. That's interesting. I've always been fascinated by twins. I just know, you know, the few twins I knew growing up, they did have a very obvious, deeper connection, you know, than other siblings, you know, that aren't twins.
Like finishing sentences.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, we did do that a lot. And the other thing, our sophomore year, she sat behind me in English class and we answered the same question. And I didn't finish reading the story, and she told me she didn't finish reading it either, and we wrote the same answer down. And I said, it's the wrong answer. I just wrote down something. The teacher's going to think we cheated. Change it. I was desperate. You know, I was like, not a cheater, and I thought that, you know, the teacher would think that we were cheating. So we do think alike, definitely.
Amazing.
But if she were to call in, you would definitely see a completely different personality. We are very different. Well, you know what? I don't know for sure. I mean, to me, we are very different. We would look in the mirror in the 3rd grade and say, why? We look totally different. How come everybody says we look the same? But then I look at our pictures now I look back at our pictures and I can't tell us apart.
That's crazy.
The only reason I can tell us apart is because of the clothing we were wearing.
Do you guys have, do twins run in your family? Because I have seen that some families that do have twins, it's not the first time that they've had it within that family. It usually is like generational, or it kind of skips a few generations.
This is kind of funny. Cassie and I are identical. Identical twins do not run in the family.
Oh, is it just
fraternal? Fraternal twins do.
Ah, interesting.
Okay, so getting into the science of it, fraternal twins run in families, and in fact, our family does have fraternal twins. Twins do run in our family. Wow. My uncle had twins, and when we would visit my great uncle Jake, he would pull out all the pictures of all the twins in our family.
Wow.
But Cassie and I are the only two that are identical. So, see, do you want me to go into the science? That's kind of boring.
It's okay.
I mean, identical twins, the egg splits, and then fraternal twins is 2 separate eggs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, fraternal is when there's 2 eggs and they drop down at the same time, versus identicals where 1 egg splits into 2.
Correct. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It was nice talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you, Christine Stewart.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Thanks.
All right. Have a
Have
good
a
night.
good night.
Take care.
Bye.
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 Amazing. We had a couple super chats. Before I forget, William Von Arks, Trills Von D sent us a super chat. Catherine sent us a super
Oh,
chat.
I appreciate that, guys.
And Giovanni A. And
Giovanni, what's cracking?
they're asking if we could throw up a Venmos because they want to bypass YouTube so that we don't get taken by YouTube's greedy little hands. Do you want to throw up? Should I type in a Venmo?
I can do my Venmo, but I want to be able to know I can track to get it so that we can both
You can pull it out when.
compensate. That's what she said.
Well, we can put it in. It's fine. That way.
My Venmo is just Trevor Wesley.
Trevor
TREVORWESLEY. I guess I could go on there and see what it is, and then. But I want to make sure that we can put this money, whatever we get, towards making this better, and towards it so that we can grow it and not just
It's not for
Have it
coffee.
turn
Not
in-
even for the coffee.
turn into something
straight for the show.
that goes nowhere.
But so there was obviously we all know about that shooting that happened in Atlanta, and I think it's important to know, especially for you white guys in the chat, that there's obviously seems to be a clear message that I'm observing that they don't want you to defend yourselves. There was that other shooting at where the protesters went after a guy. One of the protesters had a knife, another one had a skateboard. They attacked a man. He pulled out a gun, shot about 3 shots, and shot some dude in the front and in the back as he turned and ran. And now he's facing murder or aggravated
It's so
assault.
crazy to me, man, that they don't want you to defend yourself. The only option you have is to die.
Yeah, let them destroy you. And like one guy said, he was saying, well, I understand because the guy should have seen them running away in that split second. It's like at the moment they were going in for a stab. It already hit him. He pulled it out and he fired 3 quick shots. They all took less than a second. So I don't think you need to hold him accountable because he's just reacting. If anyone's to blame, it's the protesters. But we're facing a war in the media that is shaping the narrative to say that you cannot defend yourself. Especially if you're a white conservative Christian male, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
The corruption, I think, in government is getting worse and worse, and it seems like it's been a slow boil of people getting into power. Like I noticed, especially in the Republican areas now, there's so many rhinos. There's so many people that are slowly trying to corrupt and change what it means to be conservative or Republican in different ways. And I mean, I heard like in some sense too, this is kind of a stretch, but it's also not. Like Obama, that he's been serving a 3rd term in the deep state, doing things under our noses, and that Trump is exposing that with Obamagate, and we'll see. Hopefully, it does come to surface along with Hillary Clinton. She has a court date
September 9th. So yeah, I mean, I have no expectations. They are guilty of treason, that's for sure. But I don't know what's going to happen. Can't predict the future, so I'm not going to bank on Trump prosecuting them or his administration prosecuting them. Obviously, it would be the right thing to do. Would be to put them on trial for every crime they've committed. But I think it's foolish to sit and do nothing and follow the Q theory to that extent. Be aware of it. I follow the Q thing to just know what that take is. But I'm going to get my own firearms, I'm going to get my ammo, I'm going to get my ass to the countryside, I'm going to get my log cabin, build a bunch of little tiny homes, invite my friends up, and just wait and see. And if he does take down the deep state, amazing, thank God, But either way, just don't wait for someone to do what you should be doing for yourself.
And here's a question: how come the left, these Antifa, these rioters that are burning down buildings, how come they're taking such passionate action for what they believe, but the people on the right, there doesn't seem to be much happening. Like no one's standing up, and I'm not talking about violence or doing the extremes, but it just seems like I see a lot of conservatives and Republicans making memes and talking online and stuff like that, and I get it. That's all I'm doing too, and doing this show, and I want to definitely figure out how to use my musical abilities to influence more. But what can we do to unify so that we can fight against the tyranny and the government that's not making these, like, what's that guy, the cop that killed that guy who had a record, right? He tased the cop.
Yeah, 7 years for beating his children, released from jail because of COVID-19, which ties into them
He beat his
instigating.
kids. Child abuse. He was one of those prisoners or felons that was released from the Democrats
For COVID.
They let him out because of the COVID-19 thing.
Drunk off his butt in the middle of a drive-thru, passed out.
And a cop did what he's trained to do.
Yeah, take his, do the breathalyzer, do the test. He failed miserably. Even filmed himself to show the reading was off the charts. And then the guy starts fighting. And the newspaper says that
Steals his gun, his
Yeah.
taser gun.
man sleeping, cops kill man sleeping in his car.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me. It's so unfair. I can't imagine if I were a cop like that. It's like you're afraid to do your job. You're afraid to, it's just, and he now is up for murder and it's impossible death penalty.
Yeah, what you need to look at, take the color out of it. Are we gonna really sit here and let the media tell us it's okay for people to fight cops when you are wrong?
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to tell you. That, well, if he would have got away, then that's cool. He got
But
away.
everyone's making every kind of excuse for criminals.
To accept, press 1.
We got
Send a voicemail.
Black Stepdad. What's up, Black Stepdad?
Hello there.
What's up, buddy?
What's on, guys?
How you doing, man? You married yet?
No, we're probably going to think about doing it in January.
What's his name?
Ha ha ha. Why, are you jealous or what? You want in on this? So it's funny that you guys are talking about this guy that got shot in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Sometime last week, I don't remember when, I had gotten pulled over and I was detained. And the whole time I wasn't thinking, I need to get out of here. I need to fight this cop. I need to get out of here. This guy's gonna shoot me. That thought never processed in my mind. I was more thinking like, what did I do to get detained? Because he had just pulled me over and like asked me my name, asked me my birthday, and then he tells me, "All right, get out of the car. You're gonna get detained." I'm like, "For what?" "There's a warrant for your arrest." I'm like, "For what?" I've taken care of all my tickets. I've taken care of my DUI when I was 25, 26, and I had told him that like the only thing I can think of is my DUI back in the day. He pulls up my record, sure enough, I got a reckless driving along with my DUI ticket. So I guess I never took care of that one. So when he ran my license, my driver's license, it came up clear. And I remember when I applied for it, there was never an issue when I renewed my license, so I didn't think anything of it. So when the cop had asked me if there was anything in the car that he needs to know about, I told him there's a weed pipe in there somewhere, probably in the trunk, that's about it. Sure enough, he looked around, he found it, he didn't say anything about it. He comes back, he's like, "You know what, man, since you were honest with me from the beginning, all I'm going to do with your ticket is postpone it, show up in September in Pasadena, and just take care of it." I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah,
That's
that's
amazing.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, somebody listening might say it's because of your white privilege. Are you white?
No, I'm Mexican.
You Mexican?
You Mexican,
No.
you brown.
I'm brown.
You're a little
Brown
brownie?
as me, I'm a
So-
little border hopper.
So since you've had contact with the law since you're Mexican, did you used to resent them for any police contact when you were younger?
Never, because I had a brother that was, when I was growing up, he was learning to become LAPD. So I remember him reading us the penal code, how to behave, and like practicing on us how to arrest somebody. And I didn't grow up in a household like that to hate the cops, to resist them. My parents taught us to respect that and follow the law, because that's how it was in our house. You're gonna do what you're do as you're told, and if not, you're gonna listen to your dad.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Were you ever in any kind of self-defense class or anything like that?
No, I played sports, but nothing like that.
Well, sports too, I guess, because you from a young age, I feel like there's some sort of authority thing that you're able to, like, whether it's military or something where you can take orders.
Yeah, I was in court.
I think that's a good thing for kids, man.
Yeah, and like that's what these kids need. And like last week, Jesse had a caller that mentioned that. It's like these black kids don't have authority figures in their life, and when they run into one, they panic.
Yeah, it's all ego, and they think that they can get themselves out of a situation like with their emotions, but it ends up just making it worse, and it spirals.
Yeah,
they never got in the backhand from a dad. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we were not what like Queen Butterfly. She makes. I understand her point because she says, you know,
what's up, Queen Butterfly?
Why not shoot for the leg? And I get that. I used to think the same way when I was angry.
What if he did?
But what the issue is, and it's the same reason when people are saying that guy who was being attacked by the mob, like why did he shoot the guy when he turned around? Well, it took a split second for him to turn his body and run after he attempted to stab him. So it's easy to say from the outside, like, oh yeah, it's so, you know, just not shoot anymore. But when you're in the middle of a fight, when your life is on the line, and you have that fight or flight reflex, you are trying to eliminate the threat, and you don't aim and think like, let me aim for leg. You see a guy point a taser at your face, and those tasers have little spikes that shoot out. That taser could have shot him in the eye. It could have been the service pistol he grabbed, and you just shoot for the middle.
What I don't understand is why aren't people getting the idea that you bring on like if you know that it's like, nothing is going to turn out well if you try to fight a cop, try to, you know, take his taser, take his gun.
Lie to them.
It's like, you know, like the worst outcome there is possible is, yeah, you're going to get killed from this cop. Why would you put yourself in that position to have that even be possible?
Exactly.
You know, because I think most people, especially this guy was already a felon that was out of jail. Like, he was probably like, man, I'd rather die than go back to jail. And so that's the risk he took.
And you would think, too, with everything that's going on, he wouldn't be like, hell no, I'm not taking that risk.
Exactly. That's exactly, bro. You know, like, people are saying, I'm so afraid I could be next. You know, but then if you're really that afraid, why wouldn't you just be like, oh, please, sir, like I surrendered, like just.
Yeah, the root of the problem was him fighting in the first place. If he didn't fight, and that's the thing, is like we can argue all day about what happens downstream of the event, but the root, the problem is that man was his own problem. He was living wrong, convict, and he obviously did not want to go to jail, and he decided to fight for his life, and he lost that fight. And we can't make excuses, because if we make excuses for this man, we make excuses for all the children watching, and every kid who has a devil in their ear is going to hear all the adults say, oh yeah, he did nothing wrong. So that when that devil gets a hold of that child, he'll grow up and do the same stupid crap.
Yeah, because they'll think, well, maybe I can get out of it. All I got to do is fight the cop, and I'll pull the race car.
And outrun. And even if he were to get away, you're not going to get very far. Like, it's not going to go good. Just be honest with the cops. You know, it's way easier to be honest. It's simple. The truth shall set you free. You know, like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to take. I really don't know what it's going to take.
Alex Mack.
Alex Mack, I remember that.
Queen Butterfly said he should have morphed into a puddle like Alex Mack.
This one's for you, Queen Butterfly. How's it going?
I love that show. I used to smoke weed with the guy who was on that show. The black dude. He black. We used to smoke weed together and watch Dave Chappelle.
It would be the black guy, wouldn't it?
It would be. He was funny, but that was back in my beta days when I couldn't challenge the blacks. I would just let them talk crap about
Richard, I got a question for you.
Shoot.
I'm gonna pick your brain out.
You're gonna pick my brain?
Yeah. So when you mentioned stuff about the Jews, aren't the Jews considered as white? That's how I see them. I see them as white people.
Were they considered white?
Jewish and all, but
by who?
Yeah, but
by who?
I don't know, the Jews.
No, but who considers them white? Because Jews don't consider themselves white.
Okay, then what are the Jews then?
They're Jewish.
What color would you place them?
It's not about color, because white isn't just a color. It's a people. It's
no.
It's non-Jewish.
No. You see, that's where I'm like, I'm kind of iffy about that.
That's how I would think, too. I would
Why?
think the same thing, but, you know, the Jewish people are the ones themselves. There's a reason why they won't want to associate with white people.
Right, they're the same people who own the media, and they're the ones trashing whites. There's endless people who have taken all the snippets, professors, media pundits, saying how white people should just kill themselves or commit suicide, or we got to kill whiteness and end whiteness, destroy whiteness, and it's coming from Jewish voices.
I've never seen a Jewish person say that they have white privilege.
Yeah, so what is your end question here? Are you trying to justify that we should not separate them, that they're white too?
That's how I see it. Because...
But who owns the media? Do white people own the media?
No, the Jewish do.
Well, there you go. So, but why is it good to muddy the issue, make it clear? They may have white skin, but they certainly don't identify as white people, as Europeans. They identify as Jewish.
So can I say that being Hispanic?
Are you Jewish?
I don't that. No, but can I say that about being brown? I'm not Mexican.
Well, yeah, you would be like, I'm not Mexican, I'm Colombian.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that.
Mexicans have Spaniard blood, so you guys come from European descent. But the reason why people need to be aware of it is because that demographic, on the whole, I mean, I just put a video up of a rabbi talking to his synagogue saying and admitting that the history is clear, that communism in Russia was created by Jews, and it has always been by Jews. It was the same communism that was trying to destroy Germany, and that, you know what the first two laws were that Hitler passed? To get rid of pornography and degeneracy, and to get rid of interest rates, usury. And that was because that was destroying their society. It sounds very, very similar to what's happening to America, and it's exactly what happened to Russia. So it's important to know that demographic.
So what you're saying, this is the Mexican coming out of me. I don't quite follow. So what you're saying was that Hitler was a good thing, more or less, you know?
Oh, no. Well, how about the data first? I'm talking about just what they've done. Is communism what it is? So don't infer that. Focus on what is communism, who ran it, who created it, who was behind the brothels and all the degenerate clubs in Berlin, in Russia, in Moscow. Who was behind that, historically?
I don't know.
Well, then you got to dig into the research first, because then what's the point of inferring other questions from that?
I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you?
But,
I know you don't hate on Jews. I see what you're talking
right, but
about.
how can it make sense? But if you don't dig into it, it's not supposed to make sense. You only got one narrative, so if you're admitting that you don't know about it and you haven't done research, but then you're saying it doesn't make sense, well, you have your answer. Do more research, and it will make sense.
All right. So what do I go looking up then? If I wanted to find out myself, because I looked up some of the stuff you post about, and some of it is like blocked or deleted, and it's kind of like shady, you know?
Well, there you go. Exactly. They don't want you to go down that rabbit hole.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. Like, of course they wouldn't want me.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
And that's why I said it's a red flag. It's not that I'm defending anybody or saying anyone's a saint or a demon. But if they're trying to hide history from you, just like they distorted slavery.
They're doing that now. They want to get rid of all the American history now and try to rewrite it. There's a video going around right now of a group of Antifa talking to a cop and saying, we're going to rewrite history.
Exactly. So that's why you need to look. Start with this. There's a documentary called Europa, The Last Battle.
How do you spell that?
Europa, Europa, The Last Battle.
Europa!
Very long documentary, but it's a start. So you could probably find that on BitChute and some other platforms, because again, like you just noticed, they don't want you to find that. A lot of this stuff is hard to find. There's also another name. Please write this down. His name is David Cole. He's a Jewish reporter, I guess you could say researcher, Jewish man. He has a great video still on YouTube, which is funny because they haven't taken him down. But he has a lot of stuff on those topics, and he's dug into it himself. So look up David Cole, Auschwitz, and look up Europa, The Last Battle. And there's a great author, former professor who was chased out of his job and blacklisted by the media, Norman Finkelstein. Also wrote a book called The Holocaust Industry. He lost most all of his parents' family in the war. And he wrote a book called The Holocaust Industry, exposing the shakedown and how that has been used kind of like slavery in America. It's been used to hustle people for money, victimhood status, and political gain. And it's not about who's evil or not. It's just knowing what's what, and don't let people tell you what's what.
I notice. See, I'm not all familiar with all of the history and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I notice.
We're like, what?
I notice like that there is a pattern. Like music is patterns, and there's a pattern of of instilling fear, like if you criticize one group, you're anti-Semitic, and then you're afraid to have any criticism or question anything. If you criticize this group over here, you're racist, and there's all these criticism, things that you're not allowed to talk about or even question, or else you're called a name that's going to put fear in you. But white people are the only ones that are just free game. You could say anything about white people and it's perfectly fine. And I'm not a sensitive person. I'm not saying that because I'm like, well, everyone's talking about white people. But it's just, I notice in society, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, white people you can say anything about them.
Yeah. And there's another documentary besides David Cole, Norman Finkelstein, and the documentary Europa. There's one that Mikey Darko knows what's up. And it's called The Greatest Story Never Told. That actually has a website with all the parts of the documentary. So you can just type that into DuckDuckGo, The Greatest Story Never Told. And that's much shorter than Europa and covers pretty much the same information. That will give you a good primer. And just keep your mind open. Remember that just like we were taught, the devil runs the world pretty much, and this is his kingdom and influences. So we've been lied to about Christianity. We've been lied to about what whites are. So everything should be re-examined without emotion, without taking a side yet. Just be open to it. I'm still open to information that counters what I think, but I definitely learned that I'm not going to just go off emotions and go off what I was taught as a child.
Yeah, I feel you.
It's just kind of interesting that there's like conversations you're not allowed to have, and that kind of makes you wonder why. Well, why not? It's like just like Antarctica. You're like, what? How come out of all the nations, even enemies, everyone can agree on one thing, that no one goes to Antarctica?
Yeah, that's a good conversation.
It's just weird. It's like, well, why not?
But they don't want us to talk, and that's how you just know. Just whatever they tell you don't look at, be curious and say, I want to look at that, and I'm not evil for wanting to study that part of history and understand it. I don't hate anybody. I love everybody, even my enemy.
And that's funny too that you mentioned that you can't question the narrative, because there was one time I had gone out with a friend to a bar, and we met one of his friends there. And I was just like, this was when I barely started listening to Jesse and like really like taking it in. And this friend of a friend had mentioned that, oh, what do you guys know about conspiracy theories? And I was like, oh my God, here we go. And I didn't say anything, and I'm like, have you guys heard about the one that the Holocaust was essentially fake? Bro, you can't be saying that. I was like, why not? But now that I'm being like, yeah, I remember that one day.
Right, and you didn't even say that it was or that you thought it was. It's just you said, have you heard? And they wanted to talk about conspiracy theories. You should be able to talk about anything without people being offended by it, because it's just words, it's just curiosity, and it's just discovering new ideas and situations, especially these days when you can see that the present moment is being distorted so much. Like, they don't, it's like, how do you know? That's a sign there that in history throughout all of time they've been doing that. It's not new.
Their anger about that topic tells you that they are not operating from truth. So it's okay as long as you're not getting emotional either way. You should not be a cheerleader for the other story or the counter narrative either. I'm not a cheerleader for anything. I don't feel anything about it, but I want to know everything I can because I've been lied to my whole life.
And I have no emotional attachment to anything about it, so I'm not afraid to let go of a narrative or a thought that something might be true or might not be true. It's just like, I'm all ears. Let's hear what. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, so here's another question for you guys. Let's say all of this gets exposed that it's fake. What then? What are you going to do? How are you going to react?
Living my best life.
What do you mean though? Like it's what do you mean react? There's no reaction necessary. It's just know the truth. If you know the truth, then we've been hustling. If it is exposed as a hoax, as a lie, as a shakedown operation for politics and money and control, then guess what would happen? People would not be shaken down anymore. We would not be pulled into unnecessary wars. We would all just mind our own business. And hey, you live your life. We live our life. We're done with all this nonsense.
I would think that the power that be would be not in the wrong hands anymore, because it would be exposed. And it would hopefully, because people will be aware to see it, that they can prevent it and acknowledge it so that it doesn't happen, and that like America can really have its freedom, and the whole world can too,